Charlie, I'm trying to sing a song. You gotta go. Charlie, go. My mind is like a puzzle or a Rubik's Cube, but figuring me out is something that you shouldn't do, because my thoughts are locked inside a padded room, and if these padded walls could talk, I'd surely be doomed. Let's go!
What's going on, guys? This is Eric Swan from Swan Hockey. We're back with another episode of Swan Hockey Live. Today we are joined by Logan Fredericks and Jimmy Skillz, who I don't know where he went. Something happened on his end, which is hilarious because Dan just commented saying, "Don't blow it, Jimbo," about 5 minutes ago, and 3 minutes ago Jimmy's computer froze. So, So, Logan, what's going on?
How you doing, Swanik?
Doing good. Guys, Logan, I'm just still laughing about this. So, Logan is a good friend. We first met, Logan? Probably a little over 10 years ago now, right?
Yeah, probably 10, almost 15, probably.
Well, I got a text from Dan right now. Dan said there's a bad echo. Dan, let me know who it is. But so probably about 10, 15 years ago, right, Logan? And, your story, as we talked about, it's important that people hear your story and, kind of the, your path, because it's one that, it's probably a little bit less common, but probably one that needs to be a little bit more common in terms of players just kind of, seizing the opportunity and focusing on, on their performance and everything. So Logan and I first met, I think it was your 19-year-old year, right, Logan? It was going into your 19-year-old year.
Yep.
So, as we wait for Jimmy to come, hopefully come back in here. I want to talk about, so for the people that don't know you, why don't you just kind of give them the brief rundown, and then we'll dive into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess basically I grew up in New Jersey. kind of playing for the Mercer Chiefs and the Titans a little bit. Ended up going to the Boston Showcase that happened actually last weekend, getting noticed by a couple teams, ended up going to the NOJHL, went Division III from there, went to the SP for about maybe 3 weeks, got picked up to go play at the coast, and then kind of made my way and traveled around the world to the EIHL out in England. A little weird path, but it was one that's memorable and actually kind of fun to do.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, oh, sorry, were you going to say something else?
No, go for it. Yeah.
No, it's just, and, before we get into that, guys, if you're new here, welcome. This is completely interactive. Ask your questions, throw your comments up, join the conversation. Like we want to hear from you. We want to hear where you're commenting from. Swan Hockey is very focused right now on building out the community, and we want to hear from you. Join the Discord. Looks like we got Jimmy back. I'm going to add him here. There we go. Jimmy's back.
Yeah, great. Technical difficulties.
Yeah, I was just telling everybody that Dan said, "Oh, don't blow it, Jimbo." 5 minutes ago, and
yeah, blew it. Must have kicked the power strip again.
Yeah. So, but yeah, guys, we got the community Discord. Make sure you guys join that. We got our Scout Central, which is our scouting platform, and again, just trying to knock down all the walls here and do things in a better, much different way, and connect everybody, and connect you guys to coaches, and so we're joined now by Jimmy Skillz, so Jimmy coaches our summer teams with Swan Hockey, and he also coaches at the New Jersey Titans. He's got the U18 elite team and the U16 team elite team. So Jimmy, why don't you finally say hi?
What's going on, guys? Look forward to it. Obviously haven't been on one of these in a long time, since the last one that I tried to start, but it's good to get back and be on a podcast with good old Swanee here and all the good things he's doing with the Onward and Upward tour and his Swan Hockey company in general. And obviously a good old friend of mine, Logan Fredericks, who I'm sure is going to get started on talking about the long journey, right, of getting from youth to the pro levels, and how not everybody has to chase one predominant league, and there's many different avenues to where you want to get to. So I'd love to be able to come in after Logan and let him kind of talk about his journey and what it meant to him. And obviously, Swanee, that's your job. You're the host, so I won't take that away from you. I'll let you do that. But just happy to be here.
Yeah, well, happy to have you. So Logan started diving into it a bit, and we started talking about so Logan's first stop in junior hockey was the Whalers, the Jersey Shore Whalers, and that was actually I think that was their first year at the junior level, right? Logan, it was their first year. It was USP3s, and for those of you out there that aren't aware, the USP3 division of the USPHL is what's known as the USPHL Elite today. And Logan went there at 19 years old, which I'm just going to say it, like most players today, they're too proud to do that. They think they're too good to do that. They're too there's so many there's not a lot of egos out there that'll let them do that. And Logan did it, and I remember helping him set up with the team, and no questions asked, nothing. He went, and he was 2 points a game that season, right? And so Logan, why don't you talk a little bit about that? Just kind of the mindset and that you had that enabled you to be successful and not chase something, and just do what you had to do, and and just kind of share that mindset with others that might be facing the same, maybe they're struggling with that, I have an opportunity to go here, but that's not as glorious as this other league. What was your mindset going into that year, and what was your mindset going through the year that that allowed you to put up 2 points a game, which is crazy?
That's a good question, actually, because I do want to get into that. Actually, right before I ended up actually taking that position, when you texted me, I was going to Brookdale Community College, doing some couple classes because I didn't really know what I wanted to do in life. I didn't think that hockey was really going to do anything for me. In a way, I still worked on it, still trained, still did whatever I could. And then I got a text from Swanwick saying, hey, got a team for you. You want to do it? I said, yeah, absolutely. Hopped over for a game. They enjoyed me a lot. They asked me to come back. I went on a road trip with them to Massachusetts. I didn't do very well to start. I think this is bad to say. I think I had maybe a half a point a game. And to me, that wasn't where I wanted to be at that point. But it was a great stepping stone. I ended up doing really well, got involved with a bunch of the players. I actually was over there all the time over in Brick, New Jersey, hanging out with them, getting to know them. And it was a hard one to kind of go into because they've kind of grown up together as a team and everything like that. So it was kind of tough to hop into, which kind of helped me out, I think, later in my hockey career, trying to hop into a locker room where you don't know anybody and you stay there for a week and you go to the next one or the next one or the next one. It's easier to just kind of hop in, start talking to some people, get some friends, see what you can do with it. Went to a lot of showcases, and I actually talked to, I think, Swanwick, you texted me halfway through the year. Richmond was interested in me, got a phone call, sitting in class still, and got a phone call from the Richmond Generals, and I went down to Florida with them for a showcase, and I think I was point a game there as well.
I think you were too. And for those of you that have been following along, that was RC like at the time. So RC was back on, I think, episode 3. We had RC on here. So for those of you that have been following along, like the RC relationship goes back that far. And yeah, that was RC.
And for those of you that probably haven't seen it, I would just go back and look at it because RC is a great coach, great player. He's got a lot of insight and everything. And he's helped me out actually throughout the years, even without me being there. I was there for about a week and I wanted to go back home, kind of see what that was all about. But he really did help me actually throughout my career, as well as a bunch of coaches. If you can make that connection with your coaches, it's a huge part of everything. Obviously, always respect them. Don't be that, excuse my language, but a-hole to all of them. And
you can say it. Don't be an asshole.
Yeah, all right. So don't be an asshole. Don't be an asshole to your coaches because believe me, later down the line, you're going to need them.
Yeah, and you never know who's going to be where,
Yeah, and I think, after that year still going on to that year, after that year, I just didn't really know what was happening. I really thought it was actually over again. I knew that I was doing well. I entered 2 showcases during that summer. I think both were in Boston. One was a pre-draft and then one was correct me if I'm wrong. I forget which one it was. The other one's wrong. I'm not really sure.
I don't remember the other because you did pre-draft with us, so I don't remember.
Did pre-draft with you guys, and then I think there was a second one. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but the pre-draft was the best one. I think as soon as it happened after the first game, Mark LaFleur, the one in the NOJHL, actually reached out to me and said he wanted to talk to me, and he actually made me wait all 4 games, 4 to 5 games, even to talk to me. I didn't know what was going on. I thought I did something wrong, actually. And there was a bunch of other coaches. I didn't really know the teams, but I know that the NOJHL up in Kirkland Lake, Ontario, they were hosting the Dudley, and I knew that it was a big cup to be in. And ended up going up there. If you want me to stop, I can stop, and we can kind of go over a little bit more before I get into the next stages. It's up to you. But
yeah, no, I mean, no, you can roll with it or just. Yeah, no, because I think it's important, like, for people to see the timeline of this all, right? Like, so 19 years old, go to the lowest division of the USPHL, and again, you did your job, right? Like, you were 2 points a game, right? Like, you proved that you were above that level, right? Like, and then we go to the pre-draft showcase, and and I like. Yeah, I mean, I remember that like it was yesterday. Like, cause so again, for those of you that have been following along, Mark LaFleur was after Kirkland Lake. He was coaching at Hearst, and Hearst was on here. I think episode 5. That was my original connection to Hearst, and I think it was like after the first or second game, Mark's like, "I want that kid. I gotta have that kid." And it's like his mind was like made up pretty quick. And then like he waited till the end of the showcase to talk to you and everything, and which I like, and that, like, that was awesome because Mark's, I mean, to this day, Mark's one of the best coaches that I've ever worked with. He's coached up at Bemidji State. He's coached in the Quebec Major Junior League. He's won championships in the NOJHL. I mean, like I've had guys kicked off his team that say he's the best coach they've ever had. To impress that guy to the point where he's just like instantly like, yeah, I want him, I need him. Like, it was awesome.
I wasn't even supposed to be on that team, if you remember.
Yeah,
I was on the second team, and then somebody dropped out. Luckily, I got the call up. I know that it's tough. It's tough to make teams and do all these things and know where everybody stands. So it was luckily everything fell into place, and I got that chance to prove to Mark LaFleur that I was good enough to play for his team.
Yeah, and then we'll get into that in a second. I mean, Jimmy, any thoughts or anything you want to jump in?
I mean, the last thing that Logan just said, earn the right to play on his team. I think a lot of kids at the youth level right now, they feel like they've earned stuff before they actually have. From whether they come from one premier program to the next, right? Or there might be a top 6 guy at one level, right? And then want to be a top 6 guy at the next level. Like, I think everything in youth hockey right now, there's a lot of entitled players. And I think the story that Logan is kind of talking about right now is, being humble, right? Playing in the leagues that he was, the guys wanted him there, right? He went, he played, he contributed. He was able to kind of like turn some heads, right? Get some eyes on him and put him in a position to play for another higher level program in a higher level junior league, right? And then, the ball just kept kind of rolling. So I think putting your head down, right, and not acting like you've earned anything before you even come through the door based on what your stats were the year before, right? Like, when you look at guys like Zach Hyman in the NHL right now, guys that were not 54 goal scorers when they entered the league, but now they're 54 goal scorers. So I think guys like that, right, guys like Logan talking about his own story of just being humble and putting your head down and kind of doing whatever you have to do to get it done is, I think, a big, big point that the youth players should kind of listen to and take and embody. Because there's a lot of people that just walk through the door and they expect to be the guy. That's not how it works.
Right. Yeah. Like, you got to prove it. Like, if you're, trust me, there's so many players out there. We both deal with it all the time that they say, hey, to your point, I deserve this, or I should prove it. Go prove it. And like, you'll get it. Like, there's no problem. There's, like, if you can help somebody's team win games at the next highest level, like, they're going to be interested in you. Right. Like, saying, Logan proved that he could help win games at the next level. Nobody cared where he was coming from. It was, hey, this kid's good. This kid could help us. Right. Yeah. Like, he made the jump from, the lowest level of USPHL to the tier 2 junior A level. And he made the jump. Like, the team wanted him before they were even able to sign players that summer. Right. Cards come out June 1st in Canada in the CJHL to sign. Pre-draft is early May. Right. Like, we just got back from last week. Like, pre-draft is early May. And, he had a spot before you were even able to sign players to spots. So, like, it's just like, to your point, you just got to prove it. Like, everything can, like, the cream always, for the most part, tends to rise to the top. And, you just got to get out there and prove it. And I'm sure you deal a lot with that at the Titans. Like, obviously you guys got multiple teams, at the 18 level and 16 level. And I'm sure you deal with that every week. Right.
It's definitely an ongoing battle on a weekly basis. I mean, not so much on a weekly basis, just like from month to month. Right. And as the season goes on, like, everybody wants to be on the top team. Everybody wants to ski with the NA. Everybody wants to do this and that. Right. But guys they haven't earned the right yet. Right. And I think the guys that I see really that are earning the right most of the time are guys that are just putting their skates on every day, being the best guy in the locker room, being the best guy on the ice, right? Behaving in the housing that we have, like, trying to be a good teammate, right? And I think those guys generally continue to move up, right? And obviously there's some guys that slip through the cracks, right? Because they're highly skilled, but as we all know, the river kind of narrows at the end, right? and the good guys will move forward that are good teammates and good skilled players, and the other guys, you know, for whatever reason they don't make it. But I think on a week-to-week basis here, there's just a lot of organically like created competition in the way that we do practices. Like the 18 Premier team will skate with the 18 Elite team, 18 Premier will skate with the 16 Premier. So like it's two different age levels, and for you guys to know, like 16 to 18, right, is a pretty big jump, right, when it comes to speed and stuff like that, right? But when you create that organic competition, like every week, I think that one, in the model that we do, we don't really label our guys as Premier and Elite. Everybody gets to come in and, you know, kind of, again, earn their stripes, if you will, and get a chance to make the top team who's national bound. But I mean, you have the coach in front of you every week, right? And I'm sitting in here, I know it, and Danny Howard, Colby Cohn, they could say it too, right? Like we're in here talking about the guys, Jules Jardine, forgot to mention him as well. We're talking about it every week, every day, right? Figuring out what guys really earned it, what we need to work on. And I think the unit that we have here, it's kind of unique, and we really try and take a very, very, very serious point in making sure we try and rate the guys accordingly and get them the opportunities that we feel are right for them. And some guys aren't ready to hear that they're not ready yet. That's one big problem, that you have to be willing to accept that you're not ready yet. Like, do you want to play? I'm going to use the NA because that's the pinnacle league that everybody wants to play in right now, right? Or the USHL, right? But everybody wants.
The NA is a marketing machine. Like every kid in North America wants to play in the NA.
Yeah, and the NA is a very good league.
It's a great league. But I'm saying, like, every kid wants to play in it, and I think a lot of them don't even know why. You know, but like, you know, but I mean, it is a great league. I mean, I'm not. You know, saying,
the NA has made its reputation, obviously, from how long it's been around and how many Division I players it puts in, and pro players, and playing in front of big crowds when you're in the Southern divisions, and the style of hockey. And, you know, it's a great league, whether from a crowd perspective to an exposure perspective to a skill perspective, right? So everybody wants to be part of that shiny thing, right? And some guys just aren't ready to be part of it. And I always tell guys, would you rather get your shot when you're not ready and you're getting spun around in the D zone 7 times and you're -2, right? And now it's like, okay, this guy is definitely not ready. Maybe he needs a year, maybe 2 years. Or would you rather go through the development process, get yourself a little bit more acquainted, skate in some practices? If you earn that right, again, it's all earned time. And if you earn that right, you do well. Maybe you're a little bit ahead of the curve. You're ahead of the speed, right? You're in sync with the guys on the ice now, right? You understand the level of play. And now maybe you're not -2. Maybe you're even. You got a few good shots to net. You played in your spot well. You threw, you know, a couple body checks. And now it's like, okay, maybe this guy's not a year or two away. Maybe we can put him in conversation for the 30-man roster at the end of the year, right? And I think that's the really big thing that kids miss. They want to be there now.
Well, basically, it comes down to first impressions are huge, right? And a lot of guys don't understand that, you know, you make your first impression. If it doesn't go well, they remember that, right? There is, you know, if it doesn't go well, it's not always guaranteed that it can be like, oh, a year down the road. It might just be, all right, see you, bye. Well, you know, by the time a year down the road comes, we're going to find somebody else. You know, like first impressions are huge. And, you know, so like, yeah, you want to go when you're ready. And, you know, my whole point too, like, you know, like what even like bringing up the multiple levels and stuff that you guys have going on over at the Titans is that, like, people have to understand that there's no rules to this stuff. Like, okay, so if you're playing at a lower level, you're on the second team, you're on whatever, like, you're allowed to advance. If you're good enough, you're allowed to advance. There's nobody out there that says, oh, he's on the second team, he's not allowed to go to the NA, he's not allowed to go to the NCDC. Not like, you know, this whole hockey map, like, you could disappear and reappear anywhere on it from anywhere. Like, that's the beauty of this whole thing. And that's what I love about Logan's story is that, you know, he dominated the lowest level of junior there was, and then, you know, reappeared on the map, you know, at the tier 2 junior A level in Northern Ontario. And not only, and, you know, we'll pick up where the story, you know, left off. Like, not only did he go to, you know, tier 2 junior A, but, you know, Logan, I think you were 89 points that year. And I think you were a goal a game, right? Forget a point a game. He was a goal a game, right? Like, you know, he's a goal a game player. And I honestly, Logan, I still don't know if anybody's done better since. Like, because it was probably about 5 years after. probably about 5 years after you had that season, I was talking to a coach for, I forget which team it was, maybe in Cochrane. And they're like, oh, yeah, that Kirkland Lake kid has the record for the last 5 years. I'm like, oh, who? They're like, oh, Logan. He had, 89 points. I'm like, oh. I'm like, it kind of caught me off guard, like, because I didn't, it still stood. Like, nobody, it was like 5 years later, nobody, so like I said, I don't know if anybody's still broken it, but.
I actually did not know that.
Yeah. It was like,
wow.
No, I didn't realize it. I just,
Big shot.
Yeah.
Big shot, Logan.
It's like, but that's
not a big deal. Not a big deal.
Not a big deal.
Like, that's,
humble guy.
That's the whole thing. Like, he goes to the next level and then just rips it, like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, everybody just has to perform. Like, they're, Daniel Howard with the update. Rangers tied it.
I'm watching it right now.
You're watching it.
I'm watching it. I'm not.
I got it too going on over there.
Hang on.
What's going on?
Hang on. Technical difficulties again.
You're back.
Yeah, just the power outages we have sometimes here in Middletown. Just kidding.
Motion sensor.
Motion sensor. Yeah, high technology.
So what do you got? About 20 minutes.
State of the art facilities here at Middletown Sports Complex.
So, but yeah. So like like that's just the whole thing. Like, just goes up to the next level and then rips it, and then again, what do you think happened? He commits to like the best Division III school there is, right?
I actually want to go off that actually because it's kind of crazy story. Yeah, I did well. I did really well. I mean, there was even one guy on my line. He had 100 points, and we didn't even get together until December, and that's when we actually started contributing. So I feel like it's weirder to even say at the beginning. I don't think I was even close to a point a game. And then after that, it just kind of blew up. But I think even committing to college was kind of a crazy ride. And I think what we're kind of trying to get is like, you don't take what you kind of get, like take what you get in a way, not what's given to you. And when I was on the phones, like I had probably 32 to 40, probably D3 colleges that have called me. And it was like probably 1 to 2 a day towards the end of the year. And every single one kind of called me and was just like, yeah, like we'll make you captain. You'll be first power play. You'll be this, you'll be that. And that's kind of
stature in front of the school. The whole nine.
It's kind of terrible for what, like, I guess it's just terrible kind of for your like progression in hockey. And I got one phone call, and this is what kind of led me to Stevens Point. I didn't know what Stevens Point was. And the coach called me, is Brooks. And he called me and he goes, yeah, this is our school. Like, we're a good team. If you want to work to play. And like, he'd never seen me play. He never really looked at it. He just saw my stats and he said, he put up a couple points. We'll see how he does. And I think in the Dudley Cup, that was the first time he ever saw me play, and probably against NCAA rules, but he was kind of coaching me. He texted me after and he goes, try this instead. And what he kind of said was like, you earn your spot. There's no way of just hopping in. I'm not going to give you what you think you deserve. And I think that's what actually led me to the school. Like, there wasn't all the 31 other schools that have told me like, yeah, you can be first power play. Like, what does that do for me? That doesn't really do anything for me. If you don't got to work for your spot, then it's not really worth it. And obviously there are going to be some top 6 guys that don't really have to work for it. They are just that good, naturally good, but it's not going to help you throughout the line or down the line. And I think that's kind of what we're trying to get at is you really do. You take what you can get and you just work your ass off. That's just how you got to do it.
Yeah. And I think, like, I'm glad you brought that up because, one thing that I always tell people is that junior hockey teaches players in every way, shape, and form. It's not just on ice skill, right? You learn, just, off the ice, mentally, like whole 9 yards, right? And there's a lot of these lessons that, I always tell people you learn them on the small stage so you could execute them on the big stage later, right? And one of the examples that I always, like obviously, like as you guys could imagine, and Jimmy, I'm sure you get this too, like, a big, I guess, complaint that I get is I'll have a player call me and they're like, oh, I got moved down to the fourth line. What do I do? This is, bullshit. This is, I don't know,
Playing the fourth line.
The world's crumbling, right? And my response is, always the same. And like the condensed version of the response is, basically like, hey, like you need to learn how to handle this, because forget move down to the fourth line, right? God willing, you're on an NHL contract one day. If you can't learn how to deal with this now, how are you going to handle, hey, forget the fourth line. You're not on this team anymore. We're sending you down to the minor leagues. And by the way, we're cutting your salary, right? Which player are you? Are you the guy that goes down to the minor leagues, does what he has to do and gets back up and has a long NHL career? Or are you the guy that goes down to the minor league, mentally can't handle it and folds up and his career's over, right? Which guy are you? And you'll learn that lesson on the small stage first in junior, so you're able to execute it on the big stage later. And, where this ties in with you, Logan, is, what you're saying of, hey, I want to, I'm okay with earning it. I'm okay with not having it handed to me. And for you, you prefer to do it that way, right? Your experience, I believe, with the Whalers, with Kirkland Lake, led into you being able to have that mindset and be prepared for it when that happened to you in college, when you got that opportunity and they said, hey, we're not handing you shit. What do you want to do? Right. And because of your experience, your success in handling that exact situation your whole life, you were kind of like, what are you talking about? It sounds like home to me. Like, yeah, I'm coming. Like, right. And then, and then you go and you win 2 NCAA national championships in 4 years. Right. Like,
yeah. And it's funny because you think it's just once you make the team and that's it, you're done. You get to it, but like you do have to work your butt off for it. And then even after my first year, like I got sent down to the fourth line. Like it was Brooks ended up taking a job D1. We had a new coach. He put me fourth line, third line. I couldn't do the training camp, and I think that was just on me. I wasn't in shape. That was completely on me. And my role changed, and that's just kind of how it is. Like you don't really – you turn into this one point a game person, and then next thing you know, you're put on the fourth line, and what you got to do is you just got to forecheck, back check, and hope that you don't get scored on. But at the same time, like that's just how it works. Like you just keep working your way up, and yeah, I mean, luckily we were good. Yeah, like our motto, like we didn't have an automatic bid to the national championship. And we needed to, I think the max that we could lose was 4 games in a year. And I think my whole entire time there, we were like 120 wins and I think 13 losses. And like, that's just kind of telling you like,
wagon.
They're good. They're good players, great players. So like, yeah, if you're on the fourth line, like you grind it out. You're on the third line, you grind it out. You get more time, make it worth it. So it's just kind of how it goes. And again, like that's just kind of where we're trying to get at is it's a long road. So it could be an easy road, it could be a hard road, or it could be a rewarding road. And I think the reward is probably 10 times better than anything else.
Yeah, for sure.
Crazy thing is, and you talk about this, the crazy thing. So you were at, Stevens Point, obviously, like the program speaks like enough about itself, right? Successful program. But the funny thing is when you were talking about how, you had to earn your time, you were moved down, at no point were you like, I think I'm just going to give up. I'm just going to quit. I mean, we had like a lot of kids this year that just because they didn't get an opportunity right away or they faced adversity, they just quit. And again, I think that youth hockey, the problems in youth hockey are perpetuated by the parents, or to get really borderline here, Swanwick, so get ready. The problems in youth hockey are perpetuated by the parents, and I think that it really starts at what you kind of lead your kids to believe, right? I know that, Logan, and you can get into this too, right, down the road, but I know you came from even, humbler beginnings when you were playing youth hockey, and there's some stuff, obviously, that happened with your family that, you were able to kind of overcome that and continue to play hockey. I remember that being a teammate of yours. So that's one thing right there that's, pretty monumental to me. And I'll let you speak on that after I finish here. But I think a lot of kids are not told that to suck it up and to keep going, right? Because obviously everyone's going to end up in beer league one day. And I think that a lot of these guys are taking life skills during youth hockey, and they're going to lead into their life skills, and they're not able to understand how to continue in life and how to, kind of have adversity, and how to handle adversity. A lot of the guys here, the guys that move forward, in my opinion, are really good at doing that, right? But I think the parents get in the way a lot. I think that you're not hard enough on your kids. I think you're looking to point the finger at coaches and organizations and other kids, and I think it ends up hurting your kid in the long run and making him be a finger pointer, to be honest. So I think from what Logan said is, to get back to the grander point, is you were willing to work. You didn't want to quit. You didn't call your parents and say, boo hoo, this kid's playing ahead of me, yada, yada, yada. I think I want to just go to school. Like, there's a lot of that in hockey today, and it's unfortunate. And there's so many places to play now that people, you're kind of allowed to, or you almost have to let it happen, right? But there's so many young personalities in hockey that it kind of crushed me, because that didn't happen when I was a kid. It didn't happen when even the older coaches that are in, my coach's room, and we talk about it all the time, like, there's just no hard nose, I just want to beat you every day of practice, right? There are some guys, like there's a good nucleus of guys that want to do that. But I think there's a lot of kids that just want to point the finger and quit and say it's somebody else's problem. And I think that really needs to be like kind of handled by the coaching staff and the parents of hockey. Obviously there's always bad situations where there is a kid getting screwed by a coach, or maybe you're not getting adequate time. But I think not holding our guys accountable, one, it doesn't do any good for them down the road in life. And two, hockey is an accountability sport, right? Like, when you're on the ice, you're accountable for your man. You're accountable for your spot. You're accountable for the decision that you're about to make before you have the puck and after you have the puck, right? So if you can't be accountable on these little details, how are you supposed to play the game that's nothing but accountability, right? So I think it really starts at the ground level there, and let your kids just play. Let your kids just play the game and get out of their way, right? You want to support them, but let's just stop all the drama that's in youth hockey, and the drama of, you want to shit on one kid, my kid's better than this kid, and it doesn't do anything for anybody. It honestly makes your kid probably one of the cancers of the team. And I haven't been doing this a long time, but I've been doing it long enough, and especially at the 18 and 16 levels, to see, like, if you're not going to be a good teammate and you want to play an individual sport, there's a couple tennis courts around the corner that haven't been used in a while. Go hit the tennis ball yourself a few times. And sorry. No, I'm saying I know we're laughing, but I think it's a real big problem. I really do. I think that, and again, it's like a very borderline, like, oh, we got to make sure we fluff the parents up and make sure they're happy. But like it's not good. It's not good.
I think it definitely is a problem. Like, it's definitely a problem, and there's definitely, I mean, yeah, there's definitely delusional hockey parents. There's, delusional, everybody, right? Like, but kind of stemming off of that, is it the chicken or the egg too, right? What I mean by that is you have a lot of these parents and players that have the entitlement, but if you put the shoe on the other foot, and I'm not saying that the players and parents are right. I'm saying, like, I think it's both sides. Like, it's like, and again, which is the first, chicken or the egg? Like, if you put the shoe on the other foot, if I'm a player that, is just kind of like getting into this, and my email inbox is flooded with North American Hockey League teams and USHL teams telling me that they love me and they all want me to try out, and I'm probably going to make the team and this and that. And then I got a U18 coach coming up to me asking me if I want to play. What are you talking about?
That's pretty good.
Like I got 3/4 of the North American Hockey League fighting over me and half the USHL fighting over me. And you want me to come play for you, and you're going to give me the speech that you're not guaranteeing me power play? Like, what are you, nuts? Right?
Yeah.
But the problem is a lot of those invites, they're fake. They're not real. Right?
Yeah.
Like, so like that's what I'm saying. Like, it's almost like chicken or the egg. What's coming first? Like, are and like, is it the players and the parents that are delusional, saying that teams are are going to these drastic measures with these invites and stuff, or are the drastic measure invites causing the players and parents to be have a warped thought process and be delusional? I mean, I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's the best of both worlds, right? But I think at the end of the day, go watch a fucking NA game and tell me if you could play at that level. Just go watch. Go watch. If you have 5 points in 40 games at U18 and you're telling me you want to be an NA player next year and you're on the second 18 team, you're probably nowhere close. And I know
I laugh about that, but it's so true.
And I'm just saying, but like, and listen, when I was a junior B player, I was like a second line guy. When I was a junior A player, I was a fourth line guy. Sometimes I was scratched, but guess what? That was my role. So I said, okay, I'm either going to be like John and Harry, who are in the stands bitching, right? And they want to go home and this team sucks and the coach is an asshole, right? And they're still in the stands every day, right? Or I could be Jimmy Gill, the fourth line guy, know my role, block shots, win faceoffs, get pucks out, get off the ice and be a team player. Like, I'm watching this game right now with the New York Rangers and the Hurricanes, right? Like, Martinook is not a crazy skilled player. He plays with 2 skilled players. He's not a Connor McDavid, right? But the guy has an unbelievable assist for the first goal of the game from behind the net. And then he back checks 200 feet and saves a puck. I mean, literally this far away from going over the red line to make it a 3-2 game, right? And it's like, yeah, okay, everyone wants to be Connor Bedard and toe drag release and explode the water bottle, but it doesn't happen like that. So I think that it's you really the self-awareness has got to be better. I think everyone goes in with a blindfold on and they're like, oh, this is great.
You got to be able to read the room, right? You got to be able to read the room.
As I just said, that the Rangers just scored on empty net, so this game's over. But go ahead.
You got to be able to read the room, and that's why every year, like even with the North American League, I always tell people, like, go watch a game, like go educate yourself, see what the level of play is actually like, and and to your point of with people complaining at their scratches or at their fourth line guys and not wanting to do the job. I mean, I think everyone like also kind of just has to like just calm down. Like, you don't have to do this. Like, if you're playing a fourth line role and you don't want to,
go somewhere else.
Exactly. Tell the coach.
But you're going to have to go and play in the USPHL elite.
Right. You're going to have to drop down to a level where you can play the role that you want to play. Right.
Correct.
Like, and that's the thing, is just kind of defining what it is you want to, what your goals are in this game. Cause like, look, at the end of the day, there's, 6 guys on every NHL team that get to play top 6. Everybody else in the world at some point has to either change their role or play at a level low enough where they could play that top 6 role. And the choice is yours, right? Like, who's anybody else to say which one's right or wrong, right? If it, like, for instance, like if you have the opportunity to be, let's say a 4th or 5th line guy in Division I NCAA, but that doesn't float your boat, you'd rather go be the big cheese at an ACHA Division I school, cool, go do it. But make that decision, right? Don't go to the Division I school and complain. Like, just pick what, like, there, you can do whatever you want. There's so much opportunity.
Yeah. And I mean, Logan, question for you. How many guys at Stevens Point? Because D3 then was like it's still good now, but D3 then, when like there wasn't so many other leagues, right? Like, there were a lot of guys coming from the NA. There's a lot of guys coming from other major leagues, right, to play Division III. Right? How many guys on your NCAA Division III team either transferred from Division I or could have been bottom 6 guys on Division I teams, but just, for whatever reason didn't? Because I know it happens a lot now. specifically with
Probably
age.
the majority of his team could have been.
Yeah, like
We
you wanna
had
talk a little bit about
two
that.
lines. I think there was 2 lines of D1 players that actually left. There was one from Western Michigan. There was, I believe, actually 2 from Western Michigan. We had one from Omaha. We had quite a bit of players. We had a lot of really good players. But yeah, they may have actually done pretty well. They just didn't enjoy the coach as much, but no other team would pick them up. And they were like, let's go to a D1 team or a D3 team that's, top dog. Like, let's work my way back up to it.
Yeah.
And even from there, they went and played pro. They did good. They won 2 national championships out of it, I think. I actually only won 1, but I think
one. I thought you were there for 2.
no, I came the year after, but
Yeah.
I know the ones that did come from D1, they won 2. And even my year, I think we had 2 or 3 D1 players, and they won one of them at least. But we were in it every year.
Yeah.
And that's just, you're right. Like people do drop. If you're not happy, you can leave. There are so many opportunities. There are so many D1 teams now. There are so many D3 teams. There's ACHA. Like I played with a bunch of players from ACHA in the pros. Like they're good.
Yeah.
They just didn't get that extra oomph into it to literally do it. And then they figured out like, oh shoot, I got to do something if I want to keep playing.
Yeah.
And that's how it goes.
No, for sure. I think that's and what you said too is like you can leave if you're not happy, but the problem is why are you not happy? It can't be because you didn't get 7 shifts in the third period like the top 6 guys did, and you got 2, and now you're unhappy, right? Like that can't be the reason why you're unhappy. That now you're being a baby. You're being a baby.
That's a good point. You got to be reasonable about it.
Yeah.
Like you're right. Like if you're a 4th-line player, you're not going to get 7 shifts. You're not going to get the last 3 minutes of the game. You're not going to get the last 5 minutes of the game. If there's an empty net, they're not going to put you out. Why would they put you out? Unless you're blocking shots and you're doing what you can for the team.
Yeah.
There are those players that do get that, and you got to work for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing I want to throw out there too, to like anybody that, that might be watching this, that, maybe they are, maybe will find themselves in a 4th-line role this upcoming season, and, maybe it doesn't make sense, and they truly don't, like, I always say it all the time, performance is king, right? Like performance will set you free. So if you find yourself in a 4th-line role and you really don't believe that you're deserving, you got to perform, right? And because again, like I have a lot of players that come to me and they're like, "Oh, I'm on the 4th line. I only got 7 shifts last game." And my first question is always, "How are those 7 shifts?"
Yeah.
Right. And some of the guys, usually a lot of times the response is, like they don't, like they weren't even focused on their 7 shifts. They were so mad about all the 7 shifts that they didn't play well the 7 shifts. Right. And I always say, like, look, like if you're the best player on the ice for those 7 shifts, everybody in the building knows.
Yeah.
Like you can't hide performance. Right. And if you're the best player on the ice during those 7 shifts, night in and night out, it could lead to other opportunity. Like people know, like people, then like we're talking junior hockey, you might have other coaches in the league going to the coach and be like, "Hey, notice you don't play that kid. He'd fit in well for us. Well, what do you want for him? We'll make you a trade right now. Like we love to have him." Right. Like you can't really keep a good man down. And, now if your 7 shifts are poor because you're so, bent out of shape about being on the 4th line, well, now the coach is justified in only playing you 7 shifts. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So that's why it's important for anybody watching this to, you got to keep a level head. Don't get, I say it all the time too, don't get too high, don't get too low, live in the middle, and you got to perform, right? Performance will set you free, and you'll get yourself off the 4th line, whether it's with that team or whether it's something else, right? Water always levels out. And, so it's just, again, just, I think it's, kind of going back to what we were talking about in the beginning, and it's just, mindset and just keeping a level head and just, that's the way I see it. That's what I always tell people.
Yeah. I mean, effort is something you can control, right? Not your ice time.
Yeah.
I think if you focus on effort instead of ice time, you'll probably end up getting more ice time.
Yeah, because I mean, you're a coach, Jimmy. You tell me. Like, have you ever looked at a kid and went, man, this kid could really help me win games? Nah, let's not play him. It's going to be funny.
Listen, yeah, and I've never done that, obviously, for the sarcastic example, right? But I had a conversation with a kid on my team last year who really wanted to be a top 6 guy, really wanted to be an NA guy, and I'm like, listen, you're a great kid. Okay. Let's put that in perspective too. You're a really good person. Hockey doesn't define you, right? At the end of the day, right? But you're a good kid, right? Your role in this team is not a top 6 guy, right? And your role going forward in your career is not going to be a top 6 guy, right? So I think a lot of these kids, they're not told right away, like, you're not a top 6 guy. You're just not a skill guy. And if you want to continue to play longer, you're gonna have to embody that. You can try and be the toe dragger, shoot the puck through the triangle, go around 6 guys in the zone, saucer pass back, no problem. But it's probably gonna lead to turnovers. It's probably gonna lead to minuses. It's probably gonna lead to you sitting your ass on the bench or in the stands, right? And it's definitely not gonna lead to any higher leagues, right? And you end up fighting the game, and then you don't end up getting like really what you could put into the game out of it, right? So the conversation I had with him is like, listen, bottom 6 guys are just as important as top 6 guys, right? Everybody, again, they want the shiny, flashy thing. They want to be the goal scorer. They want to be the highlight reel goal. They want to be the point guy, right? But there's somebody that's got to eat a puck. There's somebody that's got to throw a hit. There's somebody that's got to make a chip. There's somebody that's got to win a faceoff. Like, you have to be able and willing to do what's needed in order. I always say winning is the best stat, right? And I think, like, I know a couple people that say that, right? And honestly, when we went down the stretch in our U18 district tournament, right, and trying to get to buy and winning the AYHL, like, winning was the most important stat. It wasn't who scored the power play goal. It wasn't, who had 5 points that night. It was winning the fucking hockey game. It wasn't about Johnny's EP and Gary's save percentage, right? It was about winning the hockey game, right? So when I had the conversation with this kid, I'm like, you need to be a guy who is effective every time you're on the ice, whatever that may be. If you chip the puck in the neutral zone 20 times and you never turn the puck over inside your own blue line, and you're, being an outlet on the wall, and you're not getting really, you're picking up your guy to the net, you had a good game to me. You're not the stat sheet, but you had a good game. And when I'm looking at guys and trying to find like guys that are really help me, one thing is body language. I can't stand bad body language. If you miss a pass, you throw your hands up in the air. I don't give a shit if you score 80 goals. You're an asshole. I'm not taking you. Okay. That's one thing. And 2, effort. Like, you don't think there's guys in the National Hockey League that throw bodies? Alex Ovechkin, one of the best top 6 guys of all time, threw the body, right? Maybe didn't play a lot of defense, but he threw the body at times, right? There's a lot of examples of guys that you can use who are. Sidney Crosby's one. He's not afraid to go in the corners, right? So, like, you have to figure out who you are, and you have to understand that early enough to be able to kind of build on that identity. And I think that'll push you farther than you trying to fight who you really are as a player. You're going to dig yourself a hole, right? And by that time, years go by. You only have so many 18 years. You only have so many junior year eligibility years, right? And is it really worth trying to prove to me that you're a top, and to yourself that you're a top 6 guy, and not getting to college and not fulfilling your other goals in hockey, right? Is it really worth that instead of just trying to be the best player you could be, move on, try and win championships in junior, try and win championships in college, play college, and then move on? Like, what experience do you get? What do you get more out of? Because I think the former one is where you end up hating the game of hockey and you end up blaming everybody. And it was never your fault. It's everybody else's fault. Right. So, like, again, I say to the conversation I had with the kid, you have to just figure out who you are and stop lying to yourself. Everybody knows it. I know it. Believe me, the first time I tried to toe drag across the blue line and I got my face blown off, I said, I'm not a skill guy. I'm just not. I'm not. I just try to do it. I mean, listen, there's a guy, S1Ep8, Sidorovich, played on our 18 Premier team 2 years ago. He had 60 or 70 goals. Okay. He had 20 points in the NA this year. 20. He had 60 goals the year before. So there's the competition. There's a lot of good guys. And I'm not saying that S1Ep8 had a down year. It's an adjustment. He went from being one of the best guys on the ice every weekend, every showcase, to like, holy shit, there's 20 good guys, 40 good guys. Both of these teams have really good guys who can skate and play hockey.
Well, and to that point, like every level you go up, and I think this is something that a lot of people, either don't realize or forget. But obviously, the higher you go, the tighter that skill gap gets, right? Because to a certain point, there's a ceiling, right? Like the human body can only skate so fast. You can only shoot a puck so hard. At a certain point, there's a ceiling, right? And, I believe that the difference between, an NHL player and an AHL player, it's mental, right? Yeah, you got your superstars in the NHL that, they're skill-wise, they're better than everybody else, right? But like for the vast majority, the guys in the NHL, they're just mentally playing the game at a whole different level than the guys in the AHL. And then you'll see that the whole way up too, just on, smaller scales. And, and I think that's important for everybody to realize that once you start getting to these high levels of junior, every step you go up, it's the guys are getting smarter and you got to get smarter. Right. And to your point before, sometimes smarter means just knowing I'm not going to toe drag it here. I'm going to dump it. Right. Everybody out there is good enough to dump the puck down the ice. Right. That takes almost no skill.
Yeah.
Right. But it's the decision making that the vast majority of players, they choose to toe drag and it doesn't work out. And that's why, it's that thought process that hurts them. So it's and I think it's just, so to your point, like, everybody wants to be the skill guy, but even the skill guys, like, like you got to know when enough's enough, right? You got to know when, this smart, easy, simple play, right? Like we always had a saying, keep it simple, stupid, right?
Yeah.
And, a lot of that, a lot of that stuff, like if you look at an NHL player, they are extremely great and extremely consistent and efficient at the basics, right? The basics get done correctly every single time.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I think a lot of players overlook. They go out for these skill sessions and stuff, and everybody's like, it's the toe drags, it's the Michigans, it's this, it's that. It's like, well, hey, don't forget to catch the pass, and I think everybody kind of gets like too far ahead in that aspect too.
Yeah.
But
I would agree. I mean, the one thing that I watched tonight when I'm obviously talking to you guys and just from earlier in the game before we got on here and watching through the playoffs, like the amount of like soft area chips and chips off the wall and stretch passes and just small area play right into a space for a guy to skate into is so evident when you watch the game. And I think a big part of our success down the road this year in the playoffs, like I said, AYHL playoffs in the districts, when Colby Cohen got here and he was like explaining to our guys that we hammered home chips, for maybe 2-3 weeks at a clip, just every day, chipping into space, getting to the puck, chipping into space, getting to the puck, chip, right? And just getting it to areas where we're not just trying to overhandle pucks, right? It's automatic. You get a puck here, you gain ice when you're pressured, the other guy's slashing, and we put it into that area. Now we're skating in that puck and we're filling the lane, right? And it worked really good for our team's play style because we were like a very rough and get it done group, right? Like we were very gritty. And the final goal in the AYHL championship was a kept puck at the point, a good net front presence shot from the point off the guy's shaft into the empty net, right? So it just, again, it's not flashy. It's just efficient, like you said, and it's effective, right? Everybody wants to be the video game guy. Go between the legs, backhand sauce, one-timer, bottle explodes. but there's not too many. If you watch a real game, there's not too many of that happening.
No, it's on the highlight reel. It's called a highlight for a reason. It doesn't happen all the time.
Exactly.
You know,
I think that's a good point, because even like at the pro level, there's people, practicing the Michigan, doing all those things. Then you got those guys that are like, I'm just going to get this puck out. I'm like, that's what they practiced. They were at practice 10 minutes before practice, and then probably a half an hour after practice, just chipping pucks that were rimmed to them out of the zone. And that's just it. It is KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
Keep it simple.
It's just it.
I saw a video from I was on TikTok the other day. There's just a video of a UMass defenseman with literally a bucket of pucks, just getting it chipped in behind him, retrieving the puck, and then going high off the glass and trying to land it in the neutral zone.
Yeah,
every time. Just that's a Division I player, right? He's not. He's not trying to replicate the Austin Matthews release, right? He's trying to do something that he knows in game. 90% of the time, I'm going to have to do on a retrieval potentially.
Right, and you can't mess that up.
And
right?
If you botch that chip, it's right back at your net, right?
And for sure. And Logan, I want to get into, so you leave college, right? So you graduate Wisconsin Stevens Point.
Yep.
Now it's time.
So, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, now it's time to go pro, right? And then once again, you do something that a lot of players that I've talked to over the years, a lot of players that they can't bring themselves to do. You start in the Southern Professional Hockey League, Single A Pro, Roanoke Rail Yard Dogs, right? A lot of players, they're, oh no, I can't play in that league. I want to go right to, I want to start in the East Coast League. It's like, well, you don't have an offer in the East Coast League. Just go to the SP, tear it up, right? And again, what do? Right down to Roanoke, right? I remember we were trying to get you to Wichita for training camp, right? But it was
COVID. I didn't have my second shot. I got turned around in Kentucky. I remember it.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember
around.
Because you were allowed to play, and this, just a little behind the scenes stuff. I remember. Yeah, I remember talking to you about that because you were allowed to play in the league. So the ECHL wasn't saying, oh, if you didn't have the shot, you couldn't play. They were saying, no, they could play. But they can't go on the bus. They can't stay in the hotel with other teammates. They got to pay for their own housings. They got to pay for their own road trips. They made it so you couldn't play, right? You were allowed to play, but they made it so hard to play that you couldn't play, right? So so you were where? Kentucky?
So I got turned around in Kentucky, and I pull over at this rest area, and at this point I'm like, I'm just gonna have a burger. I need something to eat. I remember waiting for a phone call. I'm like, what do I do? Like, do I keep going? Do I not? I remember you calling me and you're like, hey, like, this just isn't happening. I think even the coach of Wichita was like, hey, like, if you don't have your second shot, like, you can come. Same thing you said, like, it's kind of, you have to pay your own way. And at that point I turned around, went back to Roanoke, and luckily it was the day that everybody was getting there. So I got there at the same time. At that point I drove 15 hours, and I'm just beat. Didn't know. Next day I had to wake up and actually start training camp. And I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I thought maybe, I was just going to be at the East Coast level. And that's just kind of how you think. You think you get it, but it's not. It's kind of like one of those null camps that you go to. It's just kind of like a donation, but luckily you don't have to pay for it at that point. But so I'm kicked back to Roanoke, and I did all right. Like I worked my bag off, and you know what? It was great because the coach there, Dan Bremner, he will run through a wall. And even his training camps were exactly like that, where they put you in shape. We even had ice time off of it out of practice. We had probably a half an hour to an hour after practice, and everybody stayed on, whether it was games or working on stuff and doing those things. And then we even had an ice sheet outside, like a little plexiglass kind of thing. Can't think of the word, whatever it is.
Synthetic?
We had one of those. Synthetic, thank you. Yeah. Synthetic ice in a separate place to where we can all shoot and work on what we need to. And it was great. I was there for, I think, a month. And my coach, Dan, takes me off the ice as I was kind of tipping. I got actually cut that same practice, and he goes, first one, and then he pulled me to the side and he goes,
Was the Orlando?
Solar Bears, yeah, Solar Bears called, and they said, we need a player. Do you want to take it? And I said, absolutely. Yeah, why not? You know, why wouldn't you? At that point, you knew that you were going to go and play a game. You just have to show up. But I knew it was only a 1-game stint, but I still knew that I needed to get my feet wet in ECHL. I needed to show that I can play at that level. And I remember driving all the way to Norfolk. It was that day. I left at 11 o'clock after practice and got into Orlando, or not into Orlando, into Norfolk. And they had me park under the arena, and I was like, what is going on? This is just a different breed, you know, different breed. So I walk up there. Nobody says hello. Luckily, it was my old teammate from college. He was already playing there.
Oh, wow.
So walk in the locker room, at least I got to sit next to him, talk to him a bunch, and pulled into the office, and the coach just said, I'm not looking for anything special. Keep it simple. Same thing. He's like, I was 10th forward, and at the time there was only 3 lines. So I was the 10th forward. I was going in and out, being a center. I got some good opportunity after the game. He brought me into the office, and he said, how do you think you did? And I told him straight up, I was like, I was shitting bricks. I didn't know what to do. I was nervous, you know, like your first game. Yeah. But he's like, honestly, you fit right in. And he's like, I will talk to your agent. Come Tuesday, we'll make a decision or something like that. Went back to Roanoke, played 2 games. I did pretty well. Again, not great, not the worst, but I think I had 2 points in a 3-game stint. Not terrible. And I think that Tuesday came around and I didn't hear anything. I called Swanek, and Swanek goes, all right, let me talk to Wichita. Wichita picked me up, and I drove overnight, and I played the next day. The next day, the coach was just like, get some sleep. He didn't expect me to be there, but I was, you know, your adrenaline's going. I left at 8 o'clock at night. It's 12 o'clock in the morning. I was like, awesome. Or 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was like, yeah, I'm ready to play. Let's go. Let's do this.
Yeah, I think when you and I spoke in the morning, I think I asked you where you slept, and you're like, oh, I didn't.
Yeah, I just drove through. I was excited.
It's a grind.
It's one of those moments, you know.
That's a grind.
Yeah. It is, but
to get your opportunity. It's
fun. You know what I mean? You enjoy the journey. It's fun. It's a good time. Yeah, and luckily I got to stay there for the rest of the year. And then they asked for me back the year after. And I think, what was it, like December? I just wasn't the happiest. It was just not good for my mental health. I was all over the place, just wasn't happy where I was at. I knew that I wanted to travel a bunch, and I knew that hockey was kind of coming to an end. So I took an offer in the EIHL, had a couple other offers like in Hungary and all that stuff, but I figured England would probably be the best way. I played soccer, so let me go there. Let me see what that's all about.
Catch a Manchester City game.
Yeah. Yeah. So ended up there and played there for the rest of the year, and ended up going back this year. And, you know, little kid on the way, you kind of have to call it in quits a little bit early, but I ended up actually getting released. I don't know. I didn't do very hot this year. I only played like 7 minutes, but going back to where we've been at for the beginning of the whole entire podcast, I played 5-7 minutes. Like, it was, you're in your spot. I was a point a game the year before, and then I went back to third, fourth line. You have to grind. Teams get better. Talent gets better. You don't just you just don't get what you're given.
Yeah. I think that's a good point too. Like, it just seems like the more and more we talk about it, like when you come into a new, even your first year when you were at Stevens Point, right? You played top 6, or you had to start at the bottom?
Oh, I started at the bottom. I was third line.
Because they just won a national championship, right?
They won a national championship. I think they lost 4 guys, 4 or 5 guys.
So you're going into an opportunity where you know that you're starting at square one. They got their nucleus of guys back, right? And I think that's even at the youth level. Like we have a good amount of returning guys this year. Guys want their opportunity, but even when you go, like when you leave and you're going to a new spot, like technically, unless you lit the league on fire and you're a well-known name across the country, like nobody really knows you. You're not. It's not like at that of a prevalent level yet. You know what I mean? When you're at that age, so I think when you go from one team to the next, you have to be understanding of, you might be recruited at sometimes, right? Like, oh, you're going to play top 6, right? I know when I went to college, the guy was like, you're going to be on the power play. I'm like, sir, I've never been on the power play. So what are you talking about? I know this is bullshit. But anyway, so like when guys come in, like they have to know that they're at least expect that there might be a guy there that you're going to have to compete against, right? Don't just come in and like, oh, I had 30 points in 19 games in, Wichita, Kansas high school hockey, right? And I'm going to come and play in the North American League next year. Like,
and the expectation may be that you're going to be a power play guy, but you have to earn, like
you might start
right?
there.
Like if you're in a power play guy, if your camp is terrible, well, maybe you're not a power play guy anymore, right? Maybe that was the, I mean, look, bottom line, like I always tell people, like just perform, right? There's no benefit to not performing. And if you perform, like you almost can't go wrong. Like that's why I always tell, like, and look, I'm not saying every situation is fair, but that's how it is, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's important for players to realize, and especially like, everybody wants to talk about the North American Hockey League. Don't forget it's a free league. You're not a paying customer. They don't owe you anything, right?
That's
like if they make promises, they owe you what they promise you. But other than that, like they don't owe you anything, right? They're paying the bill for you to be there, not you, right? And a lot of people forget that. And I think that kind of comes into the, I don't know if it's forgotten or if it's entitlement or what it is, but, a lot of people forget that, you set foot on the ice in a league like that, it's like all bets are off.
Yeah.
I mean,
I just think even if you are a paying customer, you're making a commitment to play on a hockey team.
Yeah.
Like you paid, right? Go ahead. Don't pay and don't play. Or go play house league. No problem. You don't have to pay, right? Like, but if you like, you're a paying customer, but don't just like ride your coattails with that and think that that's like an acceptable excuse to become like 1, a chaotic parent, or 2, a chaotic player, right? Like I think,
because it's still not going to help you get to where you want to be, right? Whether you're right or wrong, it's it's not going to, ultimately, it's not going to help you get to where you want to be.
And I get it. You could want, right? You made an investment in the organization, and maybe it wasn't what you wanted. But again, there's a lot of different scenarios, right? Did you come from a lesser organization and league the year prior, right? And now you're playing at a better, like a lot of guys that go from, we were, tier 2 and we're, we led this and now we're coming into, tier 1 and he's not playing. He was the guy. It's okay. He was the guy, but you wanted to be tier 1 and now he's not performing. So what would you like? Oh, well, we paid. What does that mean? What does that mean? So you're telling me that Johnny, who's got, I don't know, 15 points in the last 10, he paid 2 and he's performing. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm not like arguing with your point, Swan. I'm just saying, like, at the same time, I agree 100% with you at the North American League that like you're not a paying customer. They don't owe you shit. But I think the only thing you're owed from an organization that you pay for is that their coach shows up to practice and runs an adequate practice. They run their adequate film time, right? And they're there coaching behind the bench, right? At the best.
Yeah. Well, you're owed the contract, right? And every contract typically says, hey, we make no guarantee of playing time, right? Like, it's all.
Well, like, listen, you get a job in the real world. You might not be the CEO in 5 years, but you still take the job, right? There's no guarantee. You might not get a raise for 5 years, but you still take the job, right? So I think that you have to understand what commitment, right? And honestly, if it's not the right fit, probably shame on you. You probably should have did a little bit better research of what you were getting into. Maybe your kid wasn't ready.
Well, so
Right.
I mean, the homework process is always important on the organization, the league, the level, the fit, all that kind of stuff. That's why So I always tell people like, hey, go watch North American League games, go watch BCHL games, go watch major junior games, USHL games. Know what you're getting yourself into. But yeah, well, this we're at an hour and 15. I think Logan, you pressed for time.
Kinda.
I know you got a kid.
I hear a little one. I don't know if you hear them in the
I
background crying.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say,
All right,
So yeah, the 2-week-old is definitely not done crying yet. But
yeah, no, we can get it wrapped up here. One thing I just wanted to just remind everybody, just happy to have you part of the Swan hockey community in any capacity you choose. Get involved. There's these podcasts go on every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, completely interactive. We've got our community tools that I mentioned before, the Discord, the Facebook group, the Scout Central. Guys, the whole goal of this is just to amplify everybody's experience and try to give you guys more, try to knock down a lot of the walls that exist and everything. And we've got our the Onward and Upward tour, which is the spring and summer team program, which I mentioned before that Jimmy is one of the coaches with that program. We just got back from the pre-draft showcase this past weekend. Did really well. We wound up losing in the semifinals, but the guys were getting a good amount of interest from multiple different teams, and even we were in the college open division of the pre-draft showcase, but we had North American Hockey League there, we had Quebec Major Junior League there, talking to one of our guys. It's all about what you do, and that's what we're just trying to do this in a better way, and to just do things accordingly, and try to provide more benefit and experience to everybody. So just guys, get involved. Get involved. Got a lot of really cool things in the works. If you guys have not been on swanhockey.com in the last week or so, whatever, check it out. Working on launching Swan Hockey Digital. It's going to be a Web3 experience. It's a lot of really cool things in the works. We got brand new merch coming out. A lot of the merch is going to be tagged. It's going to exist on the blockchain. We'll probably get more into that in another episode. And that was one of the cool things. I'm going to show everybody real quick our jerseys for our jerseys for the Onward and Upward tour. So let's see if it'll show. So these were the jerseys. Now these jerseys are verifiable on the blockchain. And so if you come here, take the Verify app, you're going to scan the jersey. I don't know if everyone can see that. I might not be able to see it. It's going to verify it as authentic. And then there'll be, actually, Logan, that's you.
It is.
So it's going to, it'll verify it as authentic. And then it'll put, you can claim it on the blockchain. It'll go into your closet on the Verify app. And there's a lot of really cool things that we're working on. So again, the jerseys are tagged. A lot of the merch is going to be tagged. And it's all part of, a lot of really cool stuff that's in the works. There's a lot of cool things that we could do with this technology to, again, try to give more to you guys and provide a bigger, better experience. So, that's all I got. Jimmy, Logan, any closing remarks? I mean, thank you to both of you guys for coming on.
No, thanks for having me on. Thanks for talking about some of the things that don't always get talked about a lot in hockey, or people aren't comfortable talking about. So I think it's pretty good topics that we talked about, and obviously talking about Logan and obviously the good career that he's had. Seeing a New Jersey guy do well, right, from from our home state here. He's out in Wichita now. He's a Kansas guy now, but he represented New Jersey, pretty well. I know him to be a humble guy, so getting it's the first time I think we've talked in quite a long time. So
Yeah.
Other than maybe men's league a couple years ago, he had his Stevens Point shit on. It's the first time I realized he went to Stevens Point. But yeah, good to see Logan too, and just kind of bounce some ideas off of each other. And honestly, it lined up pretty good with Logan's story, which was incredible. So
yeah, it worked out really well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. I really do. I think a little bit of a closing remark is honestly just keep grinding away. I know we were talking about that the whole entire time on this podcast, but really that's just how hockey is. Just grind away, keep grinding.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Amen.
So we got one more comment from Danny. You want to read it, Jimmy?
Can I read the chat? I told you I can't. Oh wait, no, I can't. I think it's because I'm in. Oh wait, hang on. Maybe I can.
You should be able to read the chat.
Comments. Let's see. Have Logan back. Jimmy talks too much.
We're gonna have to get Danny on here.
I agree. Get Danny on. Let him explain the blockchain. Then he'll be talking too much. Fucking guy. Thanks for your feedback, Dan. We'll happily delete that comment. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful or fun or annoying. We'll see everybody next Thursday, and I will talk to you guys soon. Good night.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.